How's it going?
Yeah.
Are you in the iOS course?
Yes.
Awesome. I'll introduce myself as well. I'm just waiting for more people to come in,
Okay.
and then we'll go ahead and start doing some practice problems.
Sure.
In the meantime, make sure to open up the practice problems book that we have in our CodePath channel.
Yeah, I see it, but I have a question.
Sure. What is it?
For this practice, so we can only choose in Python?
I'm going with Python, but
Okay.
you can go ahead and copy the arrays at least. And what language are you most comfortable with?
Java?
Java?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it'll be still similar. All you
Yeah.
really need is the data that we give, like the input, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the same problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna split up the sessions we're gonna do breakout rooms in groups of 2. And the point of doing that is because what we've noticed in the past is that just having one person do it in front of everyone else, it kind of ruins the vibe of like learning. Like you actually, because I'm pretty sure everybody has heard that the best way you learn is by doing, right? When you actually do something. And so from my experience, from what I've seen in the past, and when I have done interviews before and got the offers, I noticed that the interview is more like a one-on-one person, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that it's just you. You're the only one doing the problem, but in reality, it's actually 2 people, because they want you to ask questions. They want you to know if you understand the problem. They want to see how well you are going to go about the problem, right? Because in the future, when you start going into the actual job field, you're going to have people that are going to, let me admit, Sydney. Oh wait, was it you who asked the question? Was it you, Sydney, or
Yeah.
was it you, Logan?
It was me. Which question? I'm sorry.
Oh, the question about how we're going about the problems.
Oh, I was just asking, are we gonna be using the problem that you pushed on the hack MD? Because I saw it earlier today and I already solved it. I didn't know we were gonna do that one.
Oh,
so I already did
yeah.
it.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, in the future, we want to. Oh, we got more people coming in. The way that we want to go about it is don't do it. Just have it there ready, so that way you can do it with another team member. And the way we want you to solve it is not just go ahead and do the coding, but implement the umpire method, which we wrote it down there, an example of it. Because the reason why we want you to utilize the umpire method is because it's like the recipe for getting through the interview, and also hopefully getting an email back with an offer. And the reason why we use the umpire method as well is because it's like the basis, it's the foundation of engineering. Whichever team you go into and you start working full-time or as an intern, they always go through the umpire method. For example, your engineering manager comes up to you and he asks, hey, can we build this function that does this? And you're like, okay, let me go over you. I'm part of the umpire, understand. Okay, so you want this function to do this, right? Input, output. All right, let me try another case. So this should be correct. Oh, what about this tricky case? What should we do for this? Once you ask those questions to your manager, they're gonna go, yeah, I think you're good to go now. I think you covered all the cases. Now you go into the match, which is, okay, what kind of question would we solve with this? Should we use a binary tree? Should we use a linked list, a dictionary, an array, all those things, right? And then you go into the plan. All right, how do we plan to write up this function? How do we plan to go about the solution? Then, after doing all the planning, you do the actual implementation. This is where you go ahead and you implement the solution yourself. So does that kind of make sense what we're trying to do here with the sessions? So in other words, we want to do breakout rooms where both of you are trying to implement the umpire method. And both of you will ask yourselves questions like, what do we do if we have this kind of input? What if we have this type of input, right? And then I want you all to write out your explanations, your plan. What kind of problem is this? Like, is this an array problem? Is this a string problem, a dictionary problem, right? How would you solve it? And then you actually go ahead and implement it. And I also wrote down for you guys whether it's what space complexity is and time complexity of your function is. Because this is everything that we're doing here. It's like the foundation of every interview. If you're able to solve the interview question, they'll most likely ask you, oh, what's the complexity of it? And they're going to ask you, oh, what's the space complexity? What about time? And why? Can you make this better? How can you improve it from O(n) squared to O of n? Or can you make it O of log of n or something? Or even just O of 1? Well, sometimes you never know. There might be that O of 1 solutions. But everybody clear on how we're going to go about this? So we're going to do some breakout rooms. And I want you all to team up and figure out the problem. And once you figure out the problem, like I want you to write down the steps of the umpire method. Because there's two main issues that students go through in an interview, and they always fail. The first one is a technical portion, under your skill set, right? Are you able to actually comprehend how to do this problem? The second one is the one that a lot of students forget about. The second one is communication. If you don't talk, you're not getting anywhere. If you don't communicate at all, you're not gonna get any job offer from any company in general. You have to be communicative. I cannot emphasize how important that is. Out of all my interviews that I've done, I always ask questions and I always try to have a conversation with the interviewer, because that's the only way you can have a connection with them, right? How else are you going to connect with the interviewer if you don't talk at all? In other words, it's like going fishing without the fishing rod. How the heck are you going to catch fish like that easily? So please communicate with each other. Even if you don't know each other right now, I know there's only 6 people of us, but we're trying to grow this in the future. I know that we barely started this yesterday, but definitely expect more people to join in the future as we grow this. Okay. Any questions before we do breakout rooms? And then after the breakout rooms, I'm going to ask one of you to explain how you solved it.
Okay, so how long will we have to prepare for
I'll give you all 30 minutes, which is the average amount of time that everybody gets in the interviews. Usually it's about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the problem. And then from there, they just ask you like a review. And then after that, I'll just have you guys come back and go over your solutions. So that way other people can learn how you did it. And then I'll have another group present their solution. So that way you can learn how they did it. Maybe they had a different way of approaching the problem, right?
How do we change the language?
So unfortunately, I made it only for Python, but that's a good. In the future, I'll start incorporating other languages. What language are you familiar with? More familiar?
Java.
Java. Okay, also
yeah.
Java. Any C++ here? No C++. Okay, so I'll start in the future. I'll start doing Java and Python. But
yeah, we can create another one.
Yeah. In the meantime, you know how to create a REPL?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, perfect. So this is what I want you all to do. I want you all to go ahead and click on this button right here. If everyone can see my screen, go ahead and click on open on REPL. And then this should open up the file. And once you have this file open, copy the inputs at least. So that way you can have them and put them in the Java file. But I do know a little bit of Java, but I don't really like it. But I'll definitely start incorporating it in Java, so that way you guys can have both Python and Java. Any other questions so far?
So I have another question about the real interview. So for virtual interview, so are we allowed to share the screen except the code? I mean, if I can connect my iPad, so I can draw some picture to illustrate my idea.
Oh, what you do is you do screen share, and there's an option that says iPhone/iPad via AirPlay. You want to try it? Try it right now, actually. I'm curious. So click on share screen.
Share screen.
Yeah. And then click on, there should be an option that says iPhone/iPad via AirPlay.
Yeah.
Yeah, click on that one. And then your iPad should show up.
So my iPad. So,
yeah.
Okay. So I have to set my preference.
No worries. Are you able to do it?
No, it said I have to install a plugin.
Interesting.
Okay,
oh yeah, you have to install plugins for that. I think it might have worked.
I have to share. I have to do more. How about next time? Maybe after this time, I will set up the setting and then we can do it.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. But in the meantime, let me share my screen. So the first thing that, just to make sure everyone's clear on what to do, so make sure to create your own REPL. Copy the inputs that we have here for the examples. And go ahead, and I want to make sure that you all, before your function, do some documentation. And here, this is where you should do your umpire. So that way you can, when it's your turn to explain what you did, you have everything organized. For example, you understand. So do you understand, like, do some sample inputs. Sample inputs, match. What kind of question is this? Right? P, etc. Plan. The P is basically like the logic of your function. Or in other words, pseudocode. And then etc. The I think the rest are a little bit more easier to explain, but hopefully this makes sense when you implement it, the umpire method. Any questions before I do the breakout rooms for you all?
Yes.
Nope. No questions? Awesome. I'll go ahead and do breakout rooms right now. And I'll stay in the main room to see if anyone else joins us, so that way we can, I'll drop in more people in breakout rooms. Let me stop sharing my screen. One to two participants, 2 to 3 participants. All right, so I'll do 2 breakout rooms since there's 6 of us, and I'll have one group have 3 people in it. All right, everyone, I'll do the breakout rooms right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. So how did it go for everyone? Everybody feeling good? Were you all able to solve the problem, or how did you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? Any feedback? You can type it if you want, if you don't want to speak up.
Yeah, I think our team, I think we were struggling initially in the beginning to understand what was going on. And then once we started understanding it, I think we were starting to get the ball rolling, but we didn't get a chance to finish it.
Interesting. Okay. So this is the interesting part of it. This is a question that I got from Intuit on the Carrot interview. Have any of you done Carrot interviews before?
No.
What is the Carrot interview?
You what?
I wasn't, what do you mean Carrot interview? I'm not familiar with that term.
Oh, Carrot. It's a company that does interviews on behalf of companies.
Oh, it's kind of like HackerRank, right?
Yeah, kind of like HackerRank, but they actually have a person looking at you while you code.
So it's like Interview.io, except it's not the actual interviewer. It's an interviewer from Carrot.
Yep, exactly. So that was the first step that I had to do for Intuit.
Is it free?
I did a Carrot interview, and this was the problem they gave me. Don't tell anyone, but
Okay.
this is what they gave me, and there's actually 3 problems. So if you're able to solve this one first, they give you another one. But on the second one, I didn't get to finish it. I got halfway, I think. I was on the planning phase, but it's crazy. Like, it's just crazy how they expect you to do 3 problems in like no more than an hour. So I was only able to do this barely. And after that, I got the second question, but I didn't get to fully understand it yet. But who would like to share sort of their thoughts on how they were tackling the problem? Would you like to go, Sydney?
I think we didn't get that far. But most of my my friends in my group were typing it out in Python. We were doing it initially in Java, and then it got a little complicated, so we switched over to Python. So yeah, that's how it went. I'm curious about Logan's approach in Java though, because it turned out we were trying to use the split function, and then it was taking up too much space. And then I don't know. At first, we were just like, you know what? Let's just brute force it because a better solution. At least we have a solution. But then we decided to go with the Python route. So.
Got it. So Logan, would you like to get your thoughts on that?
Sure. Okay. How do I share my screen? Hold on.
Click on the green button on the Zoom application, and you'll be able to see it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah. Show us.
So I think it's straightforward. We just make sure we understand the question. So basically, they want to count the number of frequencies of all the domains or subdomains, right? So this is an input. Just make sure that we know the definition of domain. So, you know, like for the first one, you see mail.yahoo.com. So you can think of like, okay, so what is going to be the subdomains, right? So the subdomain is going to be, it could be com, it could be Yahoo, it could be, it could be yahoo.com. It could be mail.yahoo.com, right?
Yep.
But mail is invalid. Yahoo itself is invalid. So just make sure that we understand it gotta be a substring starting from right. So once you see that observation, everything becomes so much easier. So like mail itself is not, you can see that this is the output, this is the actual output. So when you see that like there's no mail in here, no Yahoo in here, but you do see mail.yahoo.com, you see yahoo.com, right, in here.
Yeah.
So the way I'm doing is very simple. I go through every single string. So I look through every single string. For a string, you see that there's 2 information you want to get from. So the first one is going to be the frequency, which is 60. The second one is going to be the actual address, right? So you can, so Java has a pretty handy API you can use, which is split. So split by the commas, then you can get the pair. Like after splitting the first time, you get a pair of like 2 elements, 60 and mail.yahoo.com. By the way, these are like all string. I'm just too lazy to have the double quote parentheses.
Yeah.
So like.
Let me pause you right there for real quick. So in my experience, this was actually one of the hard parts. The hard parts was splitting and then splitting again, because here you have to not only split up the count, but you also have to split up the domain that you're getting. For example, yahoo.com.
Yeah. So I'm going step by step. So like first you have a string, you split, and then you have an array. And now you split the second element of this. So all you can do is like, you can do like pair.plot a split, and then like you split by this. Once you do that, you're gonna have another array of like mail, and then like Yahoo. Let me put it into another line. So mail, and then like Yahoo, and then the third element could be the com. So you see this is the first array, I call it pair. So always, so when you like, you split the string, then you have two elements. The first one is 60, the second one is another string. And then you see that pair sub one, meaning the second element, you call split again, but this time you split by a dot. Just make sure that you have to put the escape, because dot is a special character. So if you don't have the escape character, it's not gonna look at the dot. It's gonna like split everything, and then you have an empty array. So this is the correct syntax. So when you split, you're gonna have another array which have 3 elements. So from now you can like loop from the right to the left. So yeah, basically you'll have all information. And then of course you need a hash map as a counter. The hash map is gonna be a string. It's gonna be when you have a map or like a dictionary in Python. The key is gonna be a domain, which is a string, and the value is gonna be the frequency, which is an integer. So I think it's probably easier to look at the code. I can code it up, but my idea is that I go over every single string, and then for each string I do two level of split. Okay, the first split is gonna give you an array of information, a pair, and then you split the second element of that, you get another array of this. And then you're looping from right to left, right? As you loop like com, and then you build yahoo.com and then mail.yahoo.com. While you're looping, you put it into the counter of dictionary or a map. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like because my group was kind of going down the same route, but we had to deal with like so many string arrays. Do you feel like that like the string arrays would bring down the overall solution with regards to space?
So what is the space complexity of this array? O2, right? This is an array of 2 elements. How many arrays do you have? You have 1 array, 2 array. The first one is O2. The second one, it depends on the length of the string. So it does cost you extra space for sure, but strings in Java are immutable, by the way. So there's no way for you like to actually make a copy of it without consuming extra space. Strings in Java are immutable. If you want another, so if you see, look at the return type is a list of string. It's actually going to be a different string from the input, because if you, let's say you have, say like my name is Logan Lee, and then if you want an array of like Logan, and the second one is Lee, right? You're not gonna like come into the string and then, okay, I'm gonna split this and split this. What it does in the background is that it makes a copy of the whole Logan and then Lee. So strings are immutable. So is that your concern? Are you concerning about the space, or?
Yeah, I think one of my group members mentioned like a string builder, which I don't know if that was plausible.
Yeah, string builder, yes. So yeah, string builder is it's an API, so it helps you when you are like appending string. So it helps you append string in times, because like I said, strings are like immutable. So for example, you have 3 elements, and then like you have a string builder, and then right. So when you call append, right? Let's say you add com, right? And then you add com, and then you add a second element, which is Yahoo, and then you add mail, right? So like you can do all of this in ON time, meaning like linear time. But if you were to do this like string, and then you do that, right? And then like you do like s dot, s, and then you concatenate substring, something like that. If you do that, it's gonna be ON square. So the reason is because, let's say first you start a string, you add com, and then the next level is it makes a copy of com again, and now makes a copy of com, and then you
creates
add
a new
Yahoo.
string.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then like the next time it makes a copy of the whole thing again, and then it adds mail. So it it results in like answer.
Did you finish up the solution given the 30 minutes?
Yeah, I did, but that's because I already did it before. But yeah, so I didn't know that we're not supposed to do that, so it's nothing fancy because I already did this round before. Yeah, but I think in this case, it's fine to use this. The reason is because, let's say after you're doing that, you would have to call sb.toString, then it would make a copy of the string again anyways. So yeah, I think a string builder is definitely a better solution. I can do that. Like the one I'm doing down here is not a string builder, but I can use string builder if you want to.
No, I was just curious. But Guillermo, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what, like, I know you're kind of directing this, but what did you want to, like, after hearing, did you want to like switch over to a different person, or what did you want to do from this point?
Yeah, ideally, once we have more groups later on, switch persons, switch groups, share ideas, keep sharing ideas. But so far, since we're a small group, we'll keep it here. But if for those that have class, you're free to go. But definitely, what do you guys think so far of having these groups? Do you guys think it's better if we go over the input output first and then split you into groups?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Because I think at least for us when we were starting, we didn't really know what the method signature was for the Python example, and we had to like consider the fact that maybe we can change the input.
Okay.
But yeah.
And the rest of the group portion, how did you guys feel of having the groups? Did it help you understand how other people think and how they would go about it, share ideas, or any other feedback that you had in mind? Because this is how we do plan to have it, and so I'll take in 2 feedback from you guys right now. I'll start doing also Java and Python. I'll have both, and I'll also have we can clarify as a group, all of us here together. We'll start clarifying like the inputs and outputs, and then split you all up into groups. Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good. I think it's really informational just to kind of hear other people's approaches and discuss it as well. So like in a group manner, like if we're all struggling, I feel like it helps to see where one person's head is going and what other people are thinking about and whatnot.
Yeah. And if you all want to see my solution, I also have it on the REPL, on the main REPL on the HackMD. You can just click on the files and you can see my solution here. But essentially, Logan covered exactly how I did it. The only difference is that I used a while loop to add the missing periods for each domain. So for example, let me just run it. Like in this case, we want to return a dictionary with, what is it running? The heck? Do I have to do it over here? Python DMO.
I think the next time you don't have to worry about the language that much, as long as like we can speak about the ideas, right? The language, I don't think that matters that much.
Yeah, the language shouldn't matter too much. It's more what I'm trying to really help more is with the logic. How do you how can you process the solution in your head, right? Because that's where most people struggle. The coding, let me give you one of the most important tips that I've learned so far from interviews. Coding only takes about 10 to 5 minutes. The rest of the time I spent on writing or like on a piece of paper, planning out or typing the umpire method. I spend the majority of my time doing the umpire because that really helps with clarifying what the heck am I going to do and how I'm going to go about it. So that's definitely a pro tip I will give all of you, is that whenever you're in the interview, I can definitely vouch. I know that everybody says like, just don't jump in right into the coding. Everybody says that, right? But they don't tell you how much time should you invest in like coding? How much time should you invest in planning? And I can guarantee you for sure, planning is the most important part, because that will set like let me tell you, the whole purpose of the interview is just to see if you know how to ask questions. That's really it. They're not really trying to see your technical abilities. They're actually trying to gauge how well do you ask questions? How well do you ask clarifying questions that will help them as well understand the problem? Why is that? Well, if you go into any company, let's say that you have a project to do right now. I give you a website to do, and I say, hey, I want to build I want you to build a login page. At that point, if you just say that, you're gonna have so many questions like, okay, what kind of a login page? Are we going to encrypt the login user? What are we gonna use to encrypt it? What tools, which API? Are we gonna build our own encryptor? Okay, what about the UI? Is there anything that you want the UI to look like? What about the backend? What's the API for it? Like, what's the schema? How do you want the schema to look like for the user? Are we gonna call it username, or is it gonna be just are we gonna use a class? Who is making that class for the user? All of those are really good questions that you ask when you're building something. And that's what they try to look for in the interview, really. It's just, all right, what are the inputs? Can the inputs, what if we have something that's not a link? Okay, then if we have an invalid link, then we should return an error, things like that. So really the key here is to asking questions. If you don't practice asking questions, not just asking questions, but the right questions, then you're gonna succeed. You're gonna definitely do well in the interviews. And I really liked, Logan, I'll give you some feedback too. I really liked the way you explained it. I liked how whenever you talked about it, you gave me an example of it. For example, oh, when we need to split up the string, you're gonna need something like, for example, google.com. You're gonna have com as well as Google. I really like that aspect. These tiny things, these small examples that you give throughout the interview, this is really what's gonna make you stand out during the interview. Like talking as well as writing what you're thinking about, what your head is thinking of. So good stuff. I really like that. Any other questions from you all before I dismiss you? I know we went by the hour, but I just wanted to sort of get you all started and get a sense of what these sessions are going to look like. Cool.
I think it was good. Yeah, except that we need more people. That'll be more fun. Yeah, but I think overall it's nice.
Spread the word. I think we're just starting, because obviously I did this really last minute. I invited everyone yesterday. We barely created the channel. Oh, and I didn't introduce myself, but my apologies. I'm one of the tech gurus for iOS. So I help the tech fellows and students with iOS coding, iOS problems. Are you one of our students, Logan?
I think I attended CodePath many courses. I took Android before, but I also participated in like 2 rounds of interview courses with CodePath.
Okay.
Last year and this year too.
Nice. Okay, so you're an alumni.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, good to get to know everybody. We'll be here around for the upcoming weeks as well. Stay in tune, everybody. Yeah. See you all. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime.